Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Ort Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Friday, the 21st day of January, 2022, right here in the Cayman Islands. I hope and I trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Bear in mind that the life you save may be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you celebrated a birthday over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. And I just want to say a special happy birthday to Mr. Alan Moore, haha. He will be celebrating his birthday on the 23rd, and of course, with Monday being a holiday, I won't be here in the studio, so wishing him a happy birthday from now as well. Other happy birthday greetings go out to Mr. Nilo Moxham, who's in the UK, and that's coming from his nana, Miss Phyllis Moxham. So she's wishing him a happy birthday today, and she also wants to really express her gratitude and her thanks to all of the health service workers who ably assisted her during her surgery, and which turned out to be extremely successful. And she wants to extend her thanks and gratitude to all of those persons who were involved in that as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones over the past few days, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing as well. And unfortunately, we would like to send out special condolences to Mrs. Karen Gerzong and her family, and in particular to Miss Karen, the loss of her mother, Miss Florient. For those of you who know or may not know, Miss Karen Gerzong, longtime employee of the Immigration Department, and now with work as well. So again, we want to express our sincere condolences to Mrs. Karen Gerzong and her family as well. For those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility, we want to wish you a speedy recovery as well. And of course, our special prayers go out to the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly. We wish her all the best and a full and speedy recovery as well. So folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Chr, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open, and you're welcome to call us, but I will give you have a little caveat to that this morning. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow, that toll-free number 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and the 949-6990. Email us at for the record, one word, for the record at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. This morning we have 4 guests in the studio, and I will introduce them in a few seconds. Some housekeeping as well. This morning also we're encouraging you, if you have any questions or comments, please direct them either by email to for the record, one word, for the record at candw.ky, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261. Some of you also have my own private cell number, and you certainly can send WhatsApp messages through there as well. But we, again, this morning will be discussing several important topics, and it is extremely important that we have some continuity in that discussion. So that is why we're encouraging you to send your questions or comments electronically. If time allows, later on in the show, we will open up the phone lines for you to call as well. So it is my pleasure to have again in the studio with us this morning none other than the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. Premier, good morning.
Good morning, Lucy. Good morning to the wonderful people of the Cayman Islands. Okay. Always a pleasure to join you and them.
And also with us this morning, the Honorable Sabrina Turner, Minister with Constitutional Responsibility for Health and Wellness. Minister, good morning. Welcome
good
back.
Good morning,
to
Mr. Connor. Pleasure to be back, and good morning, Cayman.
Also with us, Mr. Wesley Howell, gentleman who wears several hats this morning. The hat that he's wearing is the Chief Officer. So, Mr. Howell, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. Thank you for having us. Good morning to you and your listeners.
And also in the studio with us this morning, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. Did I say that right, Samuel?
That's correct. Yes.
Williams Rodriguez, Chief Medical Officer for Health in the Cayman Islands. Dr. Williams, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Honorable Premier, I'm going to throw the mic back over to you. Yesterday we had a press briefing, but we know that it is also extremely important for us to continue to hammer home and to reiterate all of the policies, the procedures, and updating people in terms of what is happening in the Cayman Islands, because things are so dynamic now that they're changing. You know, as we speak, things that may change. So I'm going to throw the mic over to you to start.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much again, O.C. Always a pleasure, as I said. So yesterday we had a press briefing. A lot of very important information was conveyed. The changes to our public health policy that had been made early in the week was discussed to some extent. Then we outlined the changes to the regulations that we did, the travel regulations and the management of COVID regulations. Now, there is always there are always questions following the press briefings. The media asks a certain number of questions. The public always have quite a number of questions as well. So my colleague, the Minister for Health, Ms. Sabrina, she I think very appropriately made arrangements for us to come this morning to follow up, to make sure that there was an opportunity to convey any additional information and provide any further clarity that might be appropriate. And your show, is a for the record show, right? So this is where the facts are, right? This is where we're going to make sure that people understand all the issues and all the information. But yeah, I mean, one of the big things yesterday, obviously, was two big things. One really was making the changes to the quarantine and isolation processes, both for people with community positives, as well as for those people who were in quarantine from traveling, and then secondly, just announcing the wider Phase 5 transition, with our ability to allow children to be able to travel in who cannot avail themselves of the vaccine. And if, between the ages of 0 and 4, they take the vaccine status of their parent, and they don't do any testing at all. And then between 5 and 11, they are effectively taking the vaccine status of the parent as well, and they're doing the same lateral flow testing regime. That changed from the previous regs, which was day 2 and day 5 and day 10. That was changed to day 2 and day 5 and day 7.
Okay.
So all of that, I think, is really important. That, particularly the Phase 5 aspect, that was one thing which the tourism industry has been pushing us on for some time. They have basically, said, look, unless, let's put it this way, the jurisdiction is very family-oriented in terms of its tourism product, and unless we could do that, we were still going to have some significant limitations on our ability to continue to recover from a tourism side. So I think with this change now, I think this importantly addresses that point and addresses that issue, and we hope that this starts to be reflected in improvements in the tourism numbers. So yeah, I think what we've done is we've achieved a good balance. We've achieved some consistency in the way we deal with people, both in a community sense as well as traveling, and we have addressed the tourism aspect in relation to children traveling with parents, fully vaccinated parents. Now, we still have the issue that people are concerned about in relation to children getting the vaccine locally.
Yes.
And when I was on Wednesday, I mentioned that I expected approval of that to be imminent. There was some good news in relation to that, but unfortunately, it also apparently means that there's going to be still a little bit of a delay from a supply of the actual children's vaccine. I'm not going to go into the details of it right now, sure. But for those parents that continue to send in their requests and ask about this type of issue, and there are some who do it on a daily basis, there is good news. There is continued reason for optimism that we will imminently be able to address this issue. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague minister. Of course, we have these two fine gentlemen represented by Public Health in the form of Dr. Sam, and then we can almost call Wes Dr. Wes now too, because he's an expert on so many things now too. So, but thank you all, and it's a pleasure to be here with everyone and to be able to talk to the people on this fine, beautiful Friday, and we can look forward to a good long weekend. And I am going to, as I said to you earlier, I'm not going to be available past just probably about 10 to 9 or so. Okay. I'll head out, but I'm trying to arrange a special visitor to come and join us. I'll see if that person is available soon.
Excellent. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will hear from Minister Turner. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Solomon McCherry Ebanks, 1901-1990. McCherry Ebanks grew up in West Bay and went to sea at 16. At the age of 26, he became a navigator and from then was known affectionately as Captain McCherry. During World War II, he risked his life and those of his crew to sail between Cayman and Tampa, bringing food and supplies to his countrymen. Captain McCherry was also a turtler, sailing regularly to the Mosquito Keys. When he retired from sea, he established a store in West Bay and became a farmer, raising cattle and ground provisions. He thus supplied the community with fresh beef, fruits, and vegetable, and the basic necessities of life. He was married to Louise Editha Ebanks, and they had 8 children. He assisted many people in his community, including his nephews, who were orphaned at a young age and raised by Captain McCherry and his wife. He was a man of foresight who saw the need to invest in his island, which he did by purchasing property. During his later years, the sale of some of the property enabled him to maintain an independent livelihood for his wife and himself.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
With Logic, you get more things you do want, like faster fiber internet, more TV, entertainment, and better customer service. And you get less of the things you don't want, like waiting, boredom, and disappointment. More of the good, less of the bad. It just makes sense. Or should I say, it's logical. See what I did there? Call us or go to logic.ky to find out how you could be getting way more of what's good.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
West Bay, home to Barkas National Park, the touristy flair, a family community, a political powerhouse. From sports enthusiasts to car aficionados, affection for silver thatch rope. No matter how far you may venture, West Bay will always be where the heart is. Home will always be in West Bay. West Bay Pharmacy, caring for your home and your family. West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient, quality care is just around the corner.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. And just to remind those of you who are just tuning in the studio with me this morning, the Honorable Wayne Patton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, Minister for Health and Wellness, Honorable Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer, Mr. Wesley Howell, and Chief Medical Officer for Health, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. And you heard the Premier and Minister Turner on the show on Wednesday. And off mic, Minister Turner did tell me that she wanted to come back on today. They knew that after the press briefing there would be need for clarification as well as reinforcement of what was said on there. And true to her word, she's right here with us this morning. And before I throw the mic over to you, while you have the mic, someone can answer this. For someone has sent in wanting to know if someone had a PCR test done yesterday. They received the results saying positive, and then they did a lateral flow test this morning, which says negative. Which one do you go by? And if the person is positive, how long do you have to quarantine again before doing another PCR test?
Dr. Williams would be the best person to answer that.
Okay.
Morning. Thanks for the question. So if you receive a positive PCR result, then you definitely need to follow that result. That doesn't really mean that you cannot come out of isolation. You still need to wait until you are contacted by public health, because you may be positive, but you may be at a level that you are no longer a public health concern. The fact that your lateral flow test tests negative this morning means that your viral load is not very high. Mm-hmm. So it will be good to wait until public health review your results and contact you, and they will alert you if you are ready to be released or when will be your next testing day.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Doctor. Minister, over to you.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Connor, like the days of immigration, there's never a straight answer to your question, because there are a number of factors that could play into that question as well. Mm-hmm. Was the person previously in quarantine and this is an exit PCR, or is it first PCR because they were concerned as to whether? So there are a number of factors that plays into that as well. But nevertheless, it's just to show you some of the problems that we have found when the access to go in and get tested, people were shopping around for the result that they wanted to know, and that posed a problem. And I know yesterday a big question came up as to the release of data and making sure that the numbers and figures that we give out as well are as factual as possible. And these take time when you have persons going to 3 different sites testing. Are we reporting triplicate of the same person? So these are some of the unfortunate instances that we are trying to resolve and to get the best and most accurate information out to the public. But I want to thank persons and for the engagement that we received yesterday after the regulations changed that came into effect, and we know that it had a positive impact on a number of households, especially those traveling with children. And for some, it may give a sense of relief to our sister islands, and maybe a little bit of frustration as well for those who want to travel to the sister islands over the weekend. But nevertheless, just to clarify what I stated in regards to the persons who are finding themselves still in isolation, not necessarily related to travel. Those persons who were in isolation that the drive-through clinics were put on to assist them with getting out early. If you were actually not feeling well enough to attend those clinics, no, the police will not be coming to work for you because you're doing the right thing. Yes. These clinics are for persons who are not symptomatic, would be qualified to get released from isolation. And isolation is because you're not related to travel. And because we expected these regulations impacting approximately 1,800 people. To deal with mass testing like that is why the Truman Bodden Sports Complex parking lot was a designated place in order to get people out and tested at the same time. But we realized that when the press release went out the night, that persons took that they're free to roam, go wherever they wanted, catching up and that sort of stuff without being tested. That was not what was intended. So for those persons who are actually adhering to the regulations and public health protocols, you're not feeling well enough and to go get tested. No, we're not coming for you. We are fully aware that there are persons who took it upon themselves, released themselves from isolation and still not getting tested. But that is not the wise thing to do, because your viral loads could be still high enough that you could transmit the disease, and you would need proper public health clearance. So I just wanted to clear that up. A number of questions that I got last night as well was, what age does testing for children is required? That is for any child over the age of 5. So if you're 4 and younger, no testing would be required for them. And I just wanted to let that, to just clear the air there. But I felt that it was well received and well welcomed, very much welcomed by our community. We may still have some apprehension or some, people not happy because our indoor limits still remain at 100 and outside activities at 250, but that's because we still have a lot of community transmission going on, and we don't feel safely, based on the science, as Dr. Williams Rodriguez and Dr. Newton stated yesterday, that based on the science, we don't feel at this particular time that it's a wise thing to increase numbers, be it outdoor or indoor, to try and control any more spread. But I can only appeal for persons to really go and get boosted, or go and get vaccinated, and definitely to avail themselves to the various testing sites that is there. If you know you're testing positive at home, do not hold that result to yourself and think you're doing yourself or the community, the country, or even your co-workers any favors by not reporting your positive to public health and going back because you feel better. You may still be very infected and therefore not helping us limit the transmission in our community. So this appeal this morning is to really reinforce what the regulations' intent is, and definitely a number of persons that it impacted, not only to get out of isolation or quarantine, but there were a lot of agencies as well that these regulations with immediate effect impacted, such as the lab. And definitely travel command staff, making sure that they communicate to all the travelers that would actually benefit from a shortened quarantine. So we know that staff was working overnight. And for persons waiting for their results, we're asking you to please be patient with us. I know Dr. Williams received some results overnight. That just shows how active the lab is working at this in honoring our word to the people that results will be given to them within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. Now, there were 2 press releases that were set out by the Health Services Authority yesterday. One in relation to BRAC's certified lateral flow test clinic hours, as well as the drive-through clinic opening in response to changes as well. And when we return from the news, we want to talk about those, especially for the BRAC, because, sometimes the BRAC feel that we leave them out, or, they're an afterthought, and you certainly aren't, because the BRAC is going to be extremely important this weekend as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
When you're on the go, let the Island Supermarket shop for you.
To start, head to fosters.ky/go.
Then shop all of your favorite products online, from produce and seafood to grocery and frozen, all picked by our team of shoppers ready to go.
Choose next day curbside pickup from Foster's Camana Bay or delivery island-wide.
To get your order started, visit fosters.ky/go.
This is Groceries on the Go.
And we are Foster's Go. Shop online anytime. When you're on the go, let the Island Supermarket shop for you.
To start, head to Foster's.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. More major airlines are set to make their return to the Cayman Islands in the coming months.
I'm excited to confirm the return in February of the United Airlines service from Chicago, Houston, Washington, and Newark, New Jersey. Also, American Airlines service from Miami and Cayman Airways service from Denver, Colorado.
Tourism Minister the Honorable Kenneth Bryan joined Thursday's press briefing from quarantine, confirming the return of Delta service from Atlanta in March, Southwest service from Fort Lauderdale and Baltimore, and American Airlines service from Charlotte, North Carolina.
The return of these flights increases the numbers of airline seats to Cayman and the variety of gateways to make it easier and convenient for visitors to get to our wonderful shores. All of this is definitely good news.
A special exit testing drive-through clinic is taking place this morning through 10 a.m., offering certified lateral flow tests at Truman Bond Sports Complex parking lot.
This will be for persons who registered and pay ahead of time through the website, which again is www.hsa.ky/appointment. Now, and persons are asked to bring proof of their payment with the email receipt. Individuals, though, who may want to pay for cash can still utilize the McClendon Drive. That's at 131 McClendon Drive, Friday from 7:30 in the morning until 12 p.m.
Health Minister the Honorable Sabrina Turner says the clinic is for those eligible to exit quarantine based on the new changes to government regulations, which allows unvaccinated children of residents and visitors to enter the islands with their vaccinated parents' status. This includes no need to quarantine. The online system is secure and convenient, allowing people to utilize, quote, a more efficient drive-through process for their test to be administered from the comfort of their vehicle. It requires the use of a credit or debit card, and results are emailed in about 1 hour. The cost is $25 per test. Head to hsa.ky for more information. Faith Hospital in Cayman Brac is providing exit testing as well for certified lateral flow tests at the Aston Ruddy Center Medical Wing from 9 until 3. Again, this is for folks eligible to exit quarantine based on the new changes. Make sure to take your photo ID if you attend the drive-thru. Across the island's hospitals, Public Health says there are 17 hospitalizations. Interim Chief Medical Officer Dr. Attilia Newton.
We have seen a slight increase over the last few days, but it's nothing extremely dramatic or anything like that. What we continue to see is that the majority of people who end up in hospital are the ones who are either unvaccinated or partially vaccinated.
Dr. Newton says that's why the key message continues to be both vaccinations and the importance of getting the booster.
The cases we see in fully vaccinated, and for fully vaccinated, I'm not talking of people who have received 3 doses, but people who have received 2 doses, is where we have an extremely vulnerable individual who has got other diseases. So clearly, those people, just the 2 doses of vaccines are not enough to protect. So we are monitoring the situation very, very carefully. I can assure you that.
The CMO says there will be a renewed focus on the booster campaign as it provides for less likelihood of hospital admissions or severe illness due to COVID-19. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Kersley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
The BBC News for Jerry Smith. The two top diplomats from the US and Russia have concluded negotiations in Geneva designed to defuse the threat of war in Ukraine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the talks have been constructive. He again insisted that Moscow, which has 100,000 troops on the Ukraine border, had no plans to invade. Earlier, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, said America was committed to diplomacy, but ready for a swift response to any aggression. Two of the world's biggest energy companies, Total Energies and Chevron, say they're pulling out of Myanmar because of human rights abuses following last year's coup. Both firms have been operating in the country for 3 decades. BBC News.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
How do I lose weight and keep it off?
I can't just eat salads. Have you tasted my family's rundown? And oh, what about the turtle meat?
These are common questions I hear from people when it comes to weight loss. Learn how to lead a healthier lifestyle, the one you desire, and successfully manage your weight with my proven step-by-step process and my new book, New Shoes, A Journey of Self-Discovery.
Working with Donna has helped me create a healthier lifestyle. Old habits are no longer a challenge. If you're looking for help in managing life, reducing weight, and maintaining a lifestyle that fits your wellness goals, Donna Mitchell is the coach you need.
New Shoes, A Journey of Self-Discovery has been tried and tested on hundreds of participants in the Cayman Islands and is available on Amazon and Kindle. Order your copy today. Visit inspiredwithdonna.com for more details.
The Overseas Government Scholarship deadline for the 2022-2023 academic year is Monday, 31st January. To apply for an overseas government scholarship or learn more about the various scholarship programs before the deadline, please visit the recently upgraded scholarship application portal at www.moescholarships.gov.ky or email the Scholarship Secretariat Unit at scholarships@gov.ky.
This year's National Heroes Day ceremony takes place on Monday, 24th January.
Due to COVID-19, the event is not open to the general public and is by invitation only.
All uniformed services award recipients are advised that no awards will be presented on Monday. Special ceremonies will be held at a later date for uniformed services recipients on Grand Cayman and in Cayman Brac.
Monday's National Heroes Day ceremony will air live on Radio Cayman and on CIGTV's Facebook and YouTube pages, beginning at 9 a.m.
The bust of the Cayman Islands' newest national hero, the Honorable Leela Ross Shire, will be unveiled along with the theme for the National Heroes Day 2023.
For more information, email the Protocol Office on nationalevents@gov.ky or call 244-1780.
The 8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
Pan American Life Insurance Group can help you take your employee benefit solution to the next level. For more than 110 years, millions of people have trusted PALIG because we've always delivered on our promise. PALIG is the only insurer providing group policies to as few as 3 employees and has the ability to combine life, health, disability, and income protection to provide you and your employees with a complete employee benefits package. Let us customize your employee benefit solution today. Call us at 949-8304 or visit our office at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Sound Road, or visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 77 degrees. Relative humidity is 88%. The barometric pressure is 30.00 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 6 knots. Overnight low temperature was 74 degrees. Synopses indicate light to moderate winds and slight seas are expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with a weak pressure gradient. Satellite images show low-level clouds over the northwest Caribbean moving towards the west. Now the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers, and temperatures will be in the low 80s. Winds will be easterly at 5 to 10 knots and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Tonight fair to partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers and temperatures dipping to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 11:44, low tide this evening at 6:22, and a high tide again tonight at 11:58. The sun will set this evening at 11 minutes past 6 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes past 7. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions expected through Sunday, with winds becoming northeasterly by Saturday morning and to become more northerly by that evening in response to a cold front approaching the northwest Caribbean.
8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
We at Pan American Life Insurance Group are here to help you protect your family and your income. For more than 110 years, millions of people have trusted PALIG because we have always delivered on our promise. Life insurance is not only about death, but also about living benefits. We'll help you secure the life insurance, accident and sickness disability income you need to protect you and your family. Call us today at 949-8304 or visit our office, Unit 221 Cannon Place East, North Song Road, or visit www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving your goals is a very rewarding feeling, but at times can feel very frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, have a deadline. Procrastination is common in human nature. Setting a time to review the work helps to increase motivation because you know that you have to have it done by a certain time. This also ensures that you slow down to review progress. Consider rewards if things are going well. If things are not going as well as you would like, a deadline gives you a chance to pause and reflect on the current goal to see if there may be something getting in the way of being able to get it done.
Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads. Coming from the east, traffic is steady but flowing on Shamrock Road, as well as on the Linford-Pearson Highway. Crew Road, steady traffic coming from the east, and eastbound traffic on Crew Road move along moderately. Light to moderate traffic flow on Edward Street. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue traffic flowing at a good pace. On the West Bay Road, traffic is moderate in both directions, especially in front of the Ritz. And a little steady traffic on Huldah Avenue and into Georgetown on Shedden Road looking pretty good. Out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, traffic is light to moderate and light traffic on Edward Street. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Have a good morning and drive safe.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for a limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your mailing address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, to download and fill out our customer information update form. Or contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or call 949-2837.
For the record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, Minister for Health and Wellness, Honorable Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Chief Medical Officer for Health Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, giving you an update on the COVID-19 situation, the new regulations that are in place and everything. And we're going to immediately hand the mic over to Mr. Howell, Chief Officer. Mr. Howell, over to you, sir.
Good morning again, Mr. Connor. Thank you for this time. Just wanted to share a couple of updates in relation to those persons who are in quarantine as a result of them traveling. So this affects the individuals who are unvaccinated, those coming from a country that is less than 60% vaccination rate, whose vaccines can't be securely verified, and persons who are traveling with unvaccinated children. A large category of those persons in quarantine were immediately available to take advantage of the changes in the regulations. That number last evening was 517. We've had people outside of that group either asking questions or deciding to self-release from that quarantine. Just want to remind those folks that that's actually a breach of the quarantine rules, subject to 2 years imprisonment, $10,000 fine. Those persons need to follow the instructions that are given to them, follow the emails from Travel Cayman, which will only be sent to those that are eligible for it, which would advise them of the new LFT testing procedures. And persons who test by LFT have to continue to isolate until they're given a negative results unadvised, that they can then leave quarantine by Travel Cayman. So that's a very important bit. So the self-release from quarantine, whether you're from a community positive or a traveler, is not allowed unless you're cleared by public health or Travel Cayman in those areas. So just wanted to stress that we had some issues with that yesterday afternoon. The other bit I think we would like to stress as well is the new testing regime in relation to inter-island travel. So individuals traveling to the BRAC long weekend is here upon us. Would need to have a certified lateral flow test before they travel. So as it's the case with the quarantine requirements, the home tests are not acceptable. You have to go to one of the authorized providers, and a list of those can be found on the gov.ky/coronavirus listing, and they're scattered around Grand Cayman. HSA does it in Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. Thanks for that.
Sure. Can Minister Turner, I don't know if we want to go now to the, while we're still on that subject, the press release in relation to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Yes, we're getting some definitive times as to the release for the BRAC, but definitely they can go to the Faith Hospital, because now that the certified LFT is required for all inter-island travel, it does not matter whether or not you're vaccinated or not. In order for you to board a flight at the ticket counter, you will be required to produce a certified negative LFT result. And for those persons who were told to report to the South Sound Community Centre this morning for testing, they can actually take advantage of the Truman Bodden Sports Complex parking lot drive-through testing that started this morning from 7 o'clock and it goes until 10 a.m. So we also want persons to utilize the service to go online and pay in advance for that. So this we've gotten excellent feedback in regards to the process, and people are actually appreciating this type of testing. So those persons who were told, to report to South Sound Community Centre, they can take advantage of the LFT testing going on and PCR testing at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex today from 7 until 10.
Okay. Now, and also for Cayman Brac, what about the Aston Redis Centre Medical Wing today?
Yes, Dr. Williams Rodriguez has some latest information in that regard.
Over to you, Doc.
All right, thank you. So yes, you're correct. For today, the Aston Rudy Center Medical Wing will be open to do LFT from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I actually in communication with the director of medical service in the Sister Island, and this service will continue, and the public will be informed. Now with the new regulation that Chief Officer Howard just make reference to, that testing need to be done to travel to and from the Sister Island, then definitely we have to have testing available for the public 7 days a week, and we'll definitely make sure that is in place, and the public will be informed accordingly. But definitely today from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Aston Rudy Center and Medical Wing, patient can go, or individual can go and get tested. Also in Little Cayman, you need to contact the Little Cayman Clinic at 948-0072 to set up an appointment to get tested as well.
Okay, while you have the mic, Doctor, any other things that you want to cover at this point in time? Go right ahead.
Yes, sir, and thank you. I also want to reiterate that the drive-through at the sport complex, Truman Bodden Sport Complex, will continue also past this weekend. And we realize and we are aware that the testing at the South Sound Community Center was causing some issue with the amount of people that were going there to get tested and some congestion on the road. So the drive-through at the Truman Bodden Complex Center have proved to be a smoother operation for everyone, for the staff and especially for the public. So we'll continue to do that. It's mainly for individuals who are test positive and then need before and then now need to exit testing, PCR testing, and also for those who test positive on LFTs, lateral flow tests, and need confirmation by PCR. So this service will continue. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Department of Sport for the partnership with Public Health and with the HSA, and allow us to use the complex. We have been using the Ed Bush field in West Bay for months now, and we'll continue to use those centers to do our testing. One thing I want to mention is the flu clinic at the HSA. The flu clinic at the HSA was implemented as a measure to fast-track the patient with flu-like symptoms, and also mainly to separate this patient from the regular patients in the clinic that come with chronic condition like the elderly, not for them to be exposed to the virus. We have learned recently that persons are coming to the flu clinic just to get tested for PCR testing. And I just want to advise the public and reiterate that this is not the place to go and get testing. This is the place to go if you have flu-like symptoms and you feel that you need to be seen by a doctor. There are other options, and the first option, the first recommendation, is to stay home and call the flu hotline. You can get advice that way, or a teleconsultation can be arranged. But if you feel that you actually need to see a doctor to be examined, just come to the flu clinic. It's okay, but please don't go to the flu clinic only to get a PCR testing. There are many testing site access for testing in the Cayman Islands is not a problem at all. So you should be able to get tests in other of the site. And the flu clinic is opening from 8 a.m. in the morning to 11 p.m. I just want to reiterate that to the public because it's important. We have seen an increase of people coming to the flu clinic, basically just requesting a PCR test, and that's not the appropriate place for this to happen.
Okay, Minister, anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree. We can't actually get an order, and for persons who are really needing the services that they require, unless we follow the instructions and definitely avail ourselves to other facilities out there that can give you this. It's one thing, of having the perfect set of guidelines and policies there, but they only work if people actually follow them. So we're asking persons to really use consideration when accessing the services, and don't be smart in trying to circumvent something that could actually be seamless if everyone just cooperated.
And just for the benefit of the public, so the drive-through at the Truman Borden Sports Complex, will that be operational over the weekend as well, Doctor?
That's correct. It will be operational over the weekend and will continue. The plan is to continue with this service long-term, as long as it's needed. But definitely over the weekend, that service will be available as well.
Okay. Have we had any hiccups in terms of people coming there not with because there are some guidelines in relation to the fact that they need payments and things of that nature? Can you reiterate those points as well for us? We
are encouraging people to get registered beforehand. So there is an option for LFT to get registered beforehand. Remember, they have two set of groups here.
Yes.
One is the one who are LFT positive and they need to be confirmed. And also the one that we already know they are positive and need to be tested to be released. All of these groups are public health concerns, so there's really no direct payment for the individuals. Those who are doing LFT testing on other side, we are encouraging them to get pre-registered, and there's a way for them to make payment online. Also, the HSA have provided staffing at the site in case somebody has not registered in advance and not paying in advance and need payment to make arrangements that they can actually make payment at the site. But most of the patients or the individual who will attend the Truman Borden Sports Center are public health cases. So technically, they wouldn't have to pay the patient itself because they're public health investigation cases, so they are exempt for payment.
Okay. Now we're going to take a commercial break, and I know, Premier, you said that you're going to leave us soon. So when we come back, we're going to give the mic back over to you for you to cover any other areas that you want to cover before you leave as well.
All
Folks,
right,
please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vamp Motors has 3 great reasons why you should own the Toyota CHR. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven. So there's no need to plug in a hybrid, making it both economical and fun to drive. And you don't have to replace your battery every 2 years. The CHR Hybrid is reliable, providing up to 1 million kilometers on the same battery and engine. Oh, and now you can save $2,000 off the Toyota CHR, starting at only $33,500.
That's way more than 3 reasons.
True, but the best one is that it's on sale now. Test drive the Toyota CHR today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road, while stocks last.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with us this morning, Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, Minister for Health and Wellness, Honorable Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Chief Medical Officer for Health, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. Premier, as I promised, we're going to give the mic over to you, sir.
Sure, thank you very much. I just really wanted to thank these two fine gentlemen who are with us. Mr. Howell does a fantastic job as a Chief Officer, and they are very dedicated. And before I talk about them in a general sense, let me say, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, both of these gentlemen, they are very committed to addressing the needs of the people of the country. They will bend over backwards all hours of the night sometimes to try to help people, and help to make a real difference for people who have issues and who, hopefully they can provide a solution for. And the changes that we've made this past week, whether they were the public health themselves in terms of the changes in their protocols in relation to community cases, or whether it relates to the regs that we changed yesterday, and which would have occupied Mr. Howell with questions and stuff all day yesterday evening and last night. It has made they've made a real difference to hundreds of our people, and that's the point of it. And it when we're in a position where we can make these changes, we want to make sure that we get them rolled out as quickly as possible, that there's sufficient clarity, and that people can really get the benefit of it. And I want to thank them because, without their stellar efforts, there are some people that perhaps may not have been able to get fully availed of those changes. So they've been doing a stellar job. I want to certainly thank my colleague minister as well, who takes her role in her job very seriously. They were
extremely passionate about it.
There were people
it's often misread.
There were people yesterday that I had to call to say, no, the minister did not say if you didn't go and get a test that you were going to, the police were going to come and arrest you at your home.
But at least they were paying attention.
What the minister was saying is, if you've been told to come and get your test, go get your test. Don't self-release and walk away and think everything is cool. There is a process when we make these changes. It doesn't change the usual protocols of you need to cooperate and get the approval. In the case of community cases, public health. In the case of people who are, in quarantine for travel reasons, from Travel Cayman and people like this wonderful gentleman, Mr. Howell. So when we're having these discussions, around the caucus table or even in cabinet, at times, we are always very conscious of the impacts these things have. Whether we're thinking about adopting regs, which we know may cause people to be under certain further restrictions, or whether we're reducing those restrictions, we're always very conscious of the potential impacts on people's lives, the impacts on employers, employees, the tourism industry, for example. I am hoping that our colleague Minister Brian can come and join a little bit later to really emphasize the changes to Phase 5 and what that means for the tourism industry as well. We had him on Zoom
yesterday.
on the press conference yesterday, and he clearly held up his wrist and demonstrated to the country that we're all subject to no matter what our titles are, we're all subject to the same laws, just like everybody else. And he was still under quarantine yesterday. At that point, he had the band on. Subsequently, I think later on in the evening, he was able to get tested, and he was quite obsessed with the whole period of time that he was in quarantine. Let me tell you, every single day he would take a picture of lateral flow tests that he was doing, and they were all of them were all initialed and dated and had, so you could see whose was whose, and so he was very much into making sure that his family was safe, and complying, and that they were complying with the rules, so that as soon as he was able to get out and get clear, they would be successful. So this is his first morning out of quarantine now. So I'm hoping he can come by and talk a little bit with you, because one of the major reasons behind the Phase 5 move is to make sure that our tourism industry, our tourism product, is available to families. It's has always been very family oriented, and being able to make this change, which has been a central point of concern for many in the tourism industry, for many months now, is very, very significant for us, and I think. Maybe we should. Well, I don't know if it would be too close to identifying, perhaps who it was. But there were, Chief Officer Wes could probably share a little anecdote without naming names, which shows the benefit that happens to people when you're changing these regs.
Precisely. Yeah.
I'll leave him to do that a little bit later if he wants to.
I'm not quite sure he has it in his pocket.
But. This is, as I said before yesterday in the press conference, this is about balancing lives versus livelihoods, yes. and it's unfortunate. We have sources of news from the U.S., for example, and from the U.K. In particular, and we get a lot of influence brought to bear on the actions that they are taking. In the minds of our people here, and I think sometimes people believe that whatever is being done there is actually what should be done here, and is entirely appropriate for us to be done here, and that may not be true at all. You know, there are a lot of local factors that we have to take into account. There are a lot of realities that we have that you know we have to recognize, and we have to get the balance right for us. And the truth is, in many of those other countries, they do not have a great record of preserving and protecting lives and getting the balance right. So I think, you know, that we have been achieving that. Yes, there are people. There's always going to be somebody who is upset about a restriction that they have to deal with, or they think because in another country they deal with something entirely differently, that the same should apply here. You know, there's this talk yesterday about quarantine and isolation provisions here being against human rights and that sort of thing. Listen, we know that under the Constitution, you are given, and then particularly the Bill of Rights, you're given specific human rights. But across all of that, there is a broad caveat, which is when it comes to public health, that is very serious, and you do not have the ability to exercise your personal freedoms against the interests of broadly the public health of the collective, the entire population. So, you know, it's against that background that, you know, I know Dr. Williams and his role as medical officer of health and public health. He takes these things very seriously because he knows that he's dealing with the lives of people. And similarly, the government, when we're looking at regulatory changes, or changes in regulations which impact people, we do the same thing. We all go around the table and we try to balance all the various perspectives and the various interests to make sure that and we sort of interrogate the medical advice that we're being given to make sure that we have a clear understanding and that we have a good balance, or try to strike the right balance. You know, sometimes you might get it wrong, but to be honest, I think if we have gotten it wrong, it has been probably more on the slightly conservative side, and what that really means, what that translates to, is that it is then, you know, has the outcome of probably protecting the lives of people more. And so I always believe if you're going to err, you know, err on the side of caution. I just wanted to thank these gentlemen and thank my colleague, and I hope Mr. Bryan can make it to join you, because his discussion and his passion around discussion of Phase 5 and what that means for the tourism product and everything, I think dovetails really well.
And if he's unable to come in, certainly we can arrange to link up by phone with him as well.
Yeah, I think he probably will come along, so we'll see. If not, he'll call in. But yeah, thank you very much. I wanted to say to the people of Cayman, you know, have a fantastic long weekend. Of course, Monday's Heroes Day. We're celebrating our national heroes, and unfortunately, we're not going to have the same kind of event that we would like to have, and to have the usual, you know, parade and a significant number of people there to be able to receive their awards. We're having to do a very scaled down approach, but there will come a time that we can do this properly, and really get back to celebrating our national heroes and celebrating their contributions to the country. So
certainly, before you go, we have several requests offline, questions about the current status of Minister for Education, Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly. And I recognize and realize that, it's personal details to a certain extent, even though she's a public figure, it's personal details as well. So if you don't want to, or if you want to just give a general update in terms of, what you last know about her condition, if you want to share that with us.
Yeah,
with our audience.
You're right. I mean, she is a private individual, but she's a public figure as well. So there is a level of information that probably is appropriate to share. I haven't actually spoken to her this morning yet, but I know that she is well enough to be communicating. I think she's doing well. That was the last update. I always say that when there are people in hospital, particularly those people who are quite unwell, I check on them. And the last update I had was that she'd had the diagnostic testing that they were just sort of checking. I think it probably wanted to just see what her lungs were like, and I think she's doing well.
Okay.
So I think we'll have her up and about fairly soon. That's the latest I have. But we certainly send our well wishes to her again, and I am sure that she'll bounce back quickly, and she'll be back with us and back in the ministry. Probably by early next week. So fingers crossed.
Okay. Yep. No.
Anyway, thank you all very much. I want to say to the people who came on, just have a wonderful, wonderful rest of Friday and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, sir. Same to you as well, and thanks for making yourself available. Also, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Minister Turner, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, and Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vamp Motors has 3 great reasons why you should own the Toyota CHR. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven. So there's no need to plug in a hybrid, making it both economical and fun to drive. And you don't have to replace your battery every 2 years. The CHR Hybrid is reliable, providing up to 1 million kilometers on the same battery and engine. Oh, and now you can save $2,000 off the Toyota CHR, starting at only $33,500.
That's way more than 3 reasons.
True, but the best one is that it's on sale now. Test drive the Toyota CHR today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Command's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.com. KY or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy now with a new and second location in Governor's Square. The new Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor's Square is open Monday to Friday 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
Your Radio K-Man 6 p.m. news Monday through Friday is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
For the record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. The Premier has left us. He has another engagement, but we are again extremely thankful that he was able to join us this morning. So in the studio now we have Minister Sabrina Turner, who has constitutional responsibility for health and wellness, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, and Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell. We're going to throw the mic over to Mr. Howell at this point in time, and there's a question in relation to lateral flow tests that we have for you also, Dr. Williams, but we will deal with that later. Let's talk about some travel scenarios.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. So this is in response to the listener who sent in the email in relation to unaccompanied children traveling. So this is a particular ticklish one for us because many that live and work here have children that are in other jurisdictions, and in some cases those children are traveling unaccompanied. So the regulations adopted last evening does factor in that scenario. So the unvaccinated child of someone who has connections to the Cayman Islands can travel into Cayman on arrival. They would then isolate at a private residence or other facility for not less than 10 days. So in the case that they're going into, or the child is traveling with parents, and child in this instance is 11 and under, they would then take on the vaccination status of the parent or guardian that they're traveling with. But unaccompanied an unvaccinated child can come in after receiving the necessary approvals, and then would then quarantine. So the approvals are still required through Travel Cayman because there's some due diligence that we'd have to do in relation to landing, and ensuring that the quarantine requirements are then met if they are applicable.
Okay, and the little anecdote that you were going to share with us that the Premier talked about while
so one of the things that we struggle with every time we have a major regulation change is that we can't circulate the information widely too long before the press conference. Otherwise, we run the risk of having bits and pieces of information get out before the official bit is there, and indeed before the regulations are published in any event. But there was some traveling individuals that were in the air when the regulations were announced yesterday, and they landed and were there waiting essentially on aircraft to take advantage of the new provision that the child then takes the vaccination status of the parents, which meant that they didn't have to go into quarantine. They could go on to the 2, 5, and 7 lateral flow testing. So it's one of those scenarios that is a bit interesting to see how it applies, almost immediately, and it has an immediate effect on individuals and their lives.
Yeah. Okay, and you mentioned lateral flow test. So, Dr. Williams, this person has written in and said, can ask the team to explain the rationale for changing the lateral flow testing for travelers from 2, 5, and 10 to 2, 5, and 7 days. And then the question is, are these days not very close to each other? Plus, very much a hassle and costly for all travelers, Caymanians and tourists alike.
Right, so thanks for the question. It's a very good question indeed. Let's first start with the cost. The cost, it doesn't change. It's the same. It was tests on day 2, 5, and 10, so there were 3 tests. The cost has been the same. It's now day 2, 5, and 7, so still 3 tests. So it's the same type of cost. When it comes to why the decision was made to change it from testing on day 10 to day 7, the last testing, it's based on all the scientific research and data that we have. And we have seen, not only in the Cayman Islands, but internationally, that the dominant variant that is predominant around the world, which is the Omicron, including the Cayman Island. We knew that the incubation period is shorter, especially in individuals who are vaccinated. And as we know, the Cayman Islands have over 80% of vaccination rate for the first 2 doses. So that was one of the reasons that we were inclined to change the day 10 to day 7. The other reason, and very important reason, is because we keep track of the result of who tests positive on the testing on day 2, on day 5, on day 10. And we saw there was a very small group of persons who were testing positive on day 10, because by that time, if somebody were going to convert, it will convert certainly by day 7. So that will explain why we move the test to day 7. Also, the short period of time between tests is actually an advantage. The closer you do lateral flow tests to each other, definitely increase the probability of detecting positive cases.
Okay.
So actually, it's all based on scientific research and data, and it all to do the best to improve the public, or the health of the Cayman Island. So we don't take any of this decision lightly. We meet, we discuss, we get advice from colleagues internationally before we made this type of recommendation to the government.
Got you. Okay.
Mr. Connor,
yes,
very interesting what Dr. Williams Rodriguez stated about the time frame in between testing. It goes back to those persons or sister islands traveling, let's say, to Gran for just a day.
Yes.
Well, if you're telling me I have to test before leaving Cayman Brac, example, to come to Grand Cayman, and I'm going back up on the 4 o'clock or the jet in the evening, why should I then have to take another test to go back to the Brac when I took one that morning? What scientifically it's proven is that the test practically is valid for that second, for that moment that you take it. And your status could change in between taking that test, going to an appointment, coming down here, going to do your bulk shopping, and before you get back on that flight to go back to Cayman Brac, your status could change to that of being positive. So the closer that you do these certified lateral flow, it increases the chances of you knowing whether or not your positive or negative status has changed. So it may come to some as an inconvenience, but if we're saying we're protecting our most vulnerable, and especially understanding the makeup of their sister islands having an older population, we feel that not doing anything with the heightened community spread that we saw over there, that this is a step in the right direction in showing that we are caring for our brothers and sisters over in the sister islands.
Excellent. Now, one of our listeners wanted to ask if you could repeat the process and procedures to travel, say, to Miami, traveling other than Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. What are the processes and procedures for international travel?
Thanks, Mr. Connor. International travel continues to be a really dynamic issue for travelers now. I mean, the various countries' regulations change on the fly. As it stands now, passengers traveling outside of the Cayman Islands to the U.S. Can either do a PCR test or a lateral flow test, certified lateral flow test, the day before, not longer than a day before travel. That's the requirements to enter the U.S. Right. For persons entering Canada, a PCR is required with the same time frame. For travelers to the UK, the UK no longer requires pre-arrival testing, but you'd have to test on arrival in the UK. So anyone traveling overseas, they would really be well versed to determine the requirements for the country that they're visiting. But for our neighbors, Jamaica as well, also accept the certified lateral flow test or a PCR test. Okay. But like I said, these things change quite regularly.
And traveling back home now to Cayman.
So again, now that falls into our local public health regulations, and the changes that came into effect last night would have reduced the time frames, but in other than the children, the other bits stay the same. So a vaccinated travelers coming in would not be required to quarantine. They would have to do a LFT or PCR test the day before or less before travel. They would arrive on Grand Cayman or Cayman Brac and then do their 2, 5, and 7 testing. For unvaccinated persons, for adults, unvaccinated, they have to have a connection to the Cayman Islands. So unvaccinated tourists and visitors aren't allowed. Those persons, again, would require to do the pre-arrival test, but they would then have to go into quarantine for 10 days. And persons who are vaccinated but not securely verified that they are vaccinated, traveling from a country whose first dose is less than 60%, then those persons will quarantine for 7 days. And then be tested before they exit. So, yeah, the scenarios, the team that code this to ensure that the portal gives the right answer, we build these scenarios to ensure that, the logic goes through all of the nuances of the legislation. So we're all a bit medical, a bit legal, and a bit IT as we come through to get the right answers. But that's the current configuration.
Mr. Howell, I think a lot of Caymanians may just be traveling. Easter coming up, this is the first long weekend with the relaxation in our regulations, are forgetting that they have to, even though you're Caymanian, register through Travel Cayman in order to depart and to come back.
Absolutely.
Which is, again, after this break, I guess we can just have him go through that process.
Excellent. Top of the hour, folks. Headline news at 9 o'clock. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Special exit testing drive-through is being offered today through certified lateral flow tests at the Truman Bond Sports Complex. It's taking place through 10 a.m. for those eligible to exit quarantine based on new changes to government regulations, which allow unvaccinated children of residents and visitors to enter the island with their vaccinated parents without the need to quarantine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have met for talks in Geneva today amid mounting fears that Russia could be about to invade Ukraine. Mr. Blinken said, quote, "This is a critical moment. The U.S. and Russia, quote, don't expect to resolve our differences here today," he added, but hoped to test whether diplomacy was still a viable option. Moscow has 100,000 troops near its border with Ukraine, but denies planning to invade. And Adele has postponed her entire Las Vegas residency just 24 hours before opening night. The star told fans in a tearful update, quote, "I'm so sorry, but my show ain't ready. Half my team have COVID, and it's impossible to finish the show." She was due to play the first of 24 concerts at the Caesars Palace Coliseum today. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Sabrina Turner, Minister with Constitutional Responsibility for Health and Wellness, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Medical Officer for Health, Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. Over to you, Doctor.
Right, thank you. See, I just want to quickly remind the public that those persons who are travelers and test positive either in day 2, 5, or 10, or 7 from today, they now become public health cases, and they need to be, in order to exit isolation, they need to be tested by PCR by the HSA. I have been made aware that some persons are attending some of the clinics this morning requesting LFT test to be released, but that's not the case. So please, if you are positive by LFT or you are positive, non-positive, you need to follow public health guidance and be tested by PCR. So I just want to reiterate that to the public, just to make it clear that once you are positive, you cannot be released from isolation with a negative lateral flow test. You need a PCR, and they will make a determination depending on the result of that PCR if you can be released from isolation or not.
Minister, anything you want to add to that?
Just as we are on here, the information and press releases are coming out, so this is an excellent opportunity. And again, thank you for this opportunity to keep engaged with the community and educating them as we live with this new way of life with COVID. That the daily PCR testing at South Sound Community Centre now has been relocated now to the drive-through sessions at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex. And another thing, we have a number of people that are going and getting certified LFTs at some of the private facilities. Please note that should you become positive, be it at a private facility or home, you should actually get a PCR to confirm that you're positive. So if you go to a private facility and you get a positive LFT, that positive LFT needs to be confirmed by a PCR from Public Health or HSA. It is not one of those things where you just go back and go home and think it's going to weigh itself out, and you'll test yourself out by a negative LFT. And it is also the responsibility of that private facility to report that positive to Public Health. Sometimes what we have seen, and it's gotten better, that the private facilities will tell the patient you're positive, and Public Health will get in contact with you for further instructions and Public Health protocols. Sometimes we don't get those positives for 24, 48 hours. You're following me here? So the person, the patient, traumatized because they're even positive, subjected to isolation and quarantining measures, and then Public Health, they're not hearing from Public Health, but sometimes we don't even know that they're positive. So the collaboration is improving, the working together and maintaining those relationships is improving, but this is also things that we need to be reminded of. And I am personally appealing to the private facilities that it is a duty for you to also report your negatives as well to Public Health, because it all helps with data.
Okay. Now, all of this must be placing a tremendous amount of strain and pressure on not only on the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, but the human infrastructure as well. Can you speak to that a little bit, and what can the public do in terms of cooperation to help to ease some of the pressures that are being placed on medical staff, especially with the testing regime?
You hit the nail on the head right there. Cooperate, comply, and stop being so critical. Some of the remarks that are being made out there, they're forgetting that even though we're all in this together, healthcare providers are human beings as well. And as the case may be with Public Health, the staff are the same staff that are swabbing. They're the same staff that are doing the vaccination clinics. They're the same staff that is all through the islands doing it. And pre-COVID, Public Health, yes, was there. But with COVID now, the focus is on Public Health, and we're adjusting our belts and getting up and staffing up. Like the flu hotlines, we're seeing an increase in the volumes of that. We have learnt from the first wave in August of last year. We've put the necessary infrastructures in place and making sure that we're having additional staff. The HR of HSA has been put under a tremendous amount of pressure. Dr. Hazel Brown on your show on Wednesday personally appealed to people to stop criticizing, but to actually give us a call, because you could possibly want to be one of those volunteers to help us reach out to people to tell them that they're negative or to tell them that they're positive. This is where we can all collectively help and contribute to our community in our way of fighting and controlling this, so that we can live as normal and get back to a more normalcy that we're used to. But definitely cooperation, following instructions, and stop pretty much writing your own regulations, but follow the regulations and protocols of Public Health. That helps tremendously. Dr. Williams.
Yes, thanks, Minister. I just want to add to what the Minister said quickly, that we're also aware that individuals are basically, when they get positive and they're ready to be discharged from isolation, they feel they're ready, they are for lack of a better term, they're shopping around. So basically, they go and they do an exit PCR test at HSA. They don't get the result that they want. They go to a different facility and do a test, and they go around get tested 3 or 4 times, trying to find the result that they're looking for. First, we want to advise you to do that. First is an additional cost to the government to do all this PCR testing, and second, they're breaching isolation orders.
Yes,
by not following public health regulations, and like the minister said, they need to wait for public health communication important and said, okay, this is the day that you need to be tested, and go on that day to the HSA, to the public health department, and get tested in order to be released from isolation. So I just want to reiterate that to the public, because we've seen quite a few cases of persons who get 3-4 tests on the same day. On the same day. It's just because they're trying to see that negative that will let them out of isolation.
And they need to be aware that you at some point in time will be aware of the fact that they're have been PCR shopping or lateral flow tests.
But not only that,
we get all the results.
Exactly.
So
but look at what that does to data that everybody is asking us for daily testing.
Yes.
One person will go, and because they don't get, let's use the positive status, for example, they don't get a negative, and they go to 3 or 4 facilities, that one person will show up on data for that day 4 times.
Yeah.
So there are times, yes, for wanting the data in real time. It's almost impossible because you have to clean it to make sure that there's no duplication of the same person.
Exactly.
So this is why, again, going into, but I won't delve in because that's another show, of the sit rep and daily numbers that people are accustomed to. We're trying to put the focus on how many persons are sick. What's the infrastructure like? But we understand that people are tracking. This is important. We are not hiding it. But with this nuance that we're finding, people testing 4 times and still showing up positive, we can't just do it, snap our finger. We have to make sure that what's reported is correctly.
Certainly. We have been joined by Minister Bryan in the studio. Minister, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. I think we've shared a Happy New Year thing already, because I believe we did speak on by phone as well. So, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you so much, OC, and good morning to my colleagues in the studio, and good morning to the Caymanian public. It's a pleasure to be here in the studio after doing my vulnerable jail time in quarantine. I haven't got a chance to get to the barbers yet, but I'm happy to be here to add some context to what the government is trying to do in respect to our steps moving forward. Obviously, going through the protocols of quarantine, I sympathize and understand what many people have been feeling. The feeling of being isolated and not having free will is something that we all per se don't like. But if we always think about the greater good, it makes the time a little easier. But what the Dr. Williams and the Minister of Health has highlighted is a very serious problem, and we have not really done much prosecutions, because we're all trying to get through this together. But there's going to be a point where we get to now where if people do not understand and it gets worse, then we will have to take action by way of law. And that's not what we want to do. We want to fix this together, but the numbers of persons who are violating the rules that are created is just too high. I mean, I'm a minister of this government, and I had to do my 14 days. Actually, the 14 days was today, so thank God I was out this morning. So I want us to know that we're in this together, and you have to follow the rules. We're not doing it just because. We're doing it because we think it's the best advice that we've been given. In order to keep us all safe. The good news is that as we are moving closer and closer with our vaccine numbers and our boosters numbers, that the risk levels, hopefully we will get the advice to say things are getting less riskier and more freedoms will happen. So what we're asking is the public to bear with us, understand. I know we've been asking you to do that for the last 2 years almost, but I think the world and the country is around the corner, and we're slowly starting to move forward. So we beg a little bit more patience and order in respect to these things. I think in a few months from now that we should be able to be in a better place where it's not so restrictive. But real life personal testimony, I know how it feels, but it is for the greater good.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to throw the mic back over to you so you can get some conversation in about tourism as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vamp Motors has 3 great reasons why you should own the Toyota CHR. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven. So there's no need to plug in a hybrid, making it both economical and fun to drive. And you don't have to replace your battery every 2 years. The CHR Hybrid is reliable, providing up to 1 million kilometers on the same battery and engine. Oh, and now you can save $2,000 off the Toyota CHR, starting at only $33,500.
That's way more than 3 reasons.
True, but the best one is that it's on sale now. Test drive the Toyota CHR today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
For the record, with Chr.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Chr. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with us, Minister Kenneth Bryan, Minister Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Medical Officer for Health Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. We have just been joined by Minister Bryan, so he's going to get those old people would say the lion's share of the time now. But we will continue to take questions, about the new COVID regulations and the testing and everything else at the same time. But over to you, Minister Bryan.
Thank you again, OC. Mr. For the Record, I should say. Yes, so obviously this step moving forward to Phase 5 not only gives freedoms to the public, but it heightens our level of responsibility that we all should take. But I'm happy that our government together has seen the necessary evidence for us to move to Phase 5 because of the effects on the tourism market. Cayman Islands is a high family travel destination, and this is something that the industry has been asking for quite some time. So I know it's welcomed by industry stakeholders. I know my colleague and the Premier highlighted them yesterday, but I think it would be important just in case anybody missed it.
Sure.
As of this new regulation, kids below the age of 11 and below will be able to take the status of their parents. And if parents are fully vaccinated, then their children will not have to be vaccinated. Kids below the age of 5, so that's 4 and under, will not have to be tested, but those 5 to 11 will have to do the same testing regime of 2, 5, and 7 as the parents would normally do. And I think that sets up an environment that is positive for travel. I got some feedback from some stakeholders up to last night, and they were really excited. So the numbers and the phones are working. The reservation agents out there across the world that we have in London office, the UK off the US office in New York and in Canada have all been briefed and letting all the agents. So there's a bit of a trickle-down effect in respect to the marketing strategies for tourism. So once that word starts to spread, hopefully we'll have less cancellations, because that's something we were dealing with in-house, where stakeholders were calling us saying, listen, people are canceling because they thought this phase 5 would have been done by now. So hopefully this new policy will stop the bleeding from a tourism perspective, and ultimately with more tourists, it gives us better opportunities for people to get back to work, which is the number one priority, therefore saves the government's cost in respect to stipend and business grants and so forth. So there's a number of things that are going to happen as a result of this regulation. But more importantly, though we've made this necessary step moving forward in a positive direction, hopefully with the world getting past this, we have to still stay cautious because it's not over. We don't know exactly if there's another strain that's going to come out. So the government will continue under the guidance of the Minister of Health and the Chief Medical Officer and Dr. Williams as to watching what's happening, watching the numbers, how is the society operating, how is the tourists coming in and how are they handling it. And if we need to make any necessary changes in either direction, we will do so right away. But hopefully this is the positive step that gets us all back to normal. Forget about the tourism part of things. I think we all just want to be back in 2020 in February, how life was like that before. So I am really excited from the tourism perspective as the minister on behalf of the government. We think that this will help get us back to where we need to be. A little quick update in respect to the cruise lines. I know that most people are aware that we had to cancel the cruise back in December, unfortunately, because of the major outbreaks on the cruise lines and many of the cruise ships. But the good news is that I'll be working and talking, having a discussion with a delegation from the Florida Caribbean Cruise Line on the February the 2nd. So they're flying in. Myself and some stakeholders have asked the Minister of Health and the Premier to join me as we outline with that association exactly what steps we want to do moving forward with cruise. And the most important thing on top of the list is the safety protocols for cruise. And when are we going to be able to be in a comfortable place to allow that? Because there's so many industry players and Caymanians depending on that life. And until we get that back and that business back, the government will continue to assist in every way possible. So that's good news from that perspective. The only other thing that I would like to mention, which I know the Honourable Minister and the Premier and everybody in the health fraternity has been highlighting, is the boosters. The good thing about traveling over the Christmas period was the opportunity to see the severe marketing program of the UK in respect to the boosters. The UK has 67 million people there and was able to do over 36 million people, I think it's a little bit more than that. I can't remember the exact number. But 63% of their population have received the booster within a 4-month period. Obviously, that's a concerted effort on a large scale to get people boosted up. And I think the science behind that is obvious, which has been said by Dr. Williams, Dr. Newton, and the Minister of Health, that this gives you more strength and brings back up your fight against the any virus, regardless of the variant, strengthens you in your protection. So with us being at, I think, 28% now, or 27%, I think that after speaking with Dr. Newton, us within caucus and in cabinet, we want to get to that 60%. So we're encouraging persons, please, 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 if you are eligible, now is the time to go get it. I think the reason why we have such high numbers now is because we were reluctant to go out there and get the boosters. And I'm not sure Dr. Williams can answer, could probably assist in this respect, but with the high numbers of persons getting the virus after they've come out of quarantine and it's been negative, what is the advice to them about going and get the booster after that?
Thanks, Minister, for that very good question. Actually, the international advice, and also here in the Cayman Islands, we ask people who wait at least for 30 days after they have cleared the virus to get the booster. WHO, basically from a safety perspective, said that 10 days after you can get the booster.
Okay.
But most countries have gone even 3 to 6 months. And that is because you develop an immunity after you get the infection. So, but in the Cayman Island from the beginning, we said after you get an infection, you wait 30 days. And after that, you are in a good position to receive the booster, or if you're not vaccinated, your first vaccination or second dose. I also want to add just more or less for what the minister was saying, that we also are very concerned about our percentage of people who have received the booster. And in under the guidance of the interim chief medical officer, we are in the process of developing a working group to create different ideas, different incentives for people to get the booster. So the minister and the ministry is also involved with that with Deputy Chief Officer Bobet Ogaro and others. So we are actually going to create a group to look at different ways that we can actually increase the booster. I know the Minister of Tourism and Minister of Health were very involved when we were trying to increase our second dosage. So we will do a similar exercise and for the public to get the booster. And it's clear, we're seeing that even though when you get the booster, you may get the infection, especially with the new variant Omicron, but the severity of the infection is a lot less. We can see the numbers. The percentage of the patients who are admitted unvaccinated is always been over 80 to up to 90%. So you can see that the booster vaccinating really, really protects you. There is no doubt of that. It's not only in the Cayman Islands, it's just across around the world. So we encourage the people, please go ahead and get the booster out there.
Okay.
Because you're talking about travel, Minister, I think now would be an appropriate time to go back in before we get lost in the conversation. And I'm quite sure you're going to also share what routes Cayman Airways and other airlines that are coming in. But a lot of persons, and I had a very dear friend of mine going away for medical, totally forgot the step of registering with Travel Cayman in order to depart and permission in order to come back. So I think now is the appropriate time that we have the Minister of Tourism and Transport here to also confirm and to inform our Caymanians and anyone who's going to be traveling to and from Cayman the importance of registering on Travel Cayman.
Thank you, Minister. That's very, very timely. As we move through our reopening phases now in phase 5, the requirement to apply for a travel declaration. So essentially, you're declaring that you are vaccinated. We can then go through the process of reviewing your vaccination certificate. If you have the QR codes and that's electronically verifiable, it's almost an instantaneous process. If we're doing it manually, we're doing those within minutes to hours and turning those around very quickly. That document now saves the airline which you're boarding to come to Cayman from having to sift through people's vaccination status at the point of departure. So before you leave, if you're going out of Cayman, apply before you leave. If you're coming in as a visitor or tourist, log on to travelcayman.gov.ky, go through the application process. If you're fully vaccinated, you will receive a travel declaration that is valid for 3 months. So that's your proof to the airline that you meet our vaccination requirements. And on arrival, once that's verified, you would not have to go into quarantine at that point. If you are not vaccinated, you have a connection to the Cayman Islands and are able to travel in, you apply for a travel request, and that's a request to quarantine. And that will allow you then to have all the pre-checks done in relation to your quarantine location, have the travel bans that the minister just got rid of today, prepared for you on arrival, and allows us to have a very efficient process at the airport when we know that unvaccinated persons with connections to Cayman are arriving. That allows us to keep up with what has been a steady increase in arrivals, not only from visitors coming, but also our locals traveling a little bit more, or in some cases a lot more frequently now. So this phase, we still have the requirement. So the website is travelcayman.gov.ky, and the requests are there for the persons who are vaccinated by HSA. A plug to them to apply for your My HSA app. You will get your QR codes. Easier. You also then have the benefit of having your PCR test results uploaded to that. So very efficient process for that. And it does make the travel authorizations not only to Cayman but to other countries that much more easier.
If I can quickly add to that, I know we're going to run to the 9:30, but I did all of those things before I traveled, thank God, to the assistance of HSA and the staff there. So I had my QR codes and my certificate before I left. And believe me, it is that simple. Once you go through that exercise, sometimes it may be a little complicated, but if the team within government can definitely help you. I literally did this symbol, which is, I know those are listening, I just held my phone up, and it was either to some machine or to some person, and it was that easy. It was going, here you go, bam, scanned, gone. And I saw persons who didn't have it, and it was a long queue for them. So I would advise you to do that. But since we were coming off the booster element, I was also encouraging yesterday at the press conference that, for one, if you've had your vaccine, there should be no more concern about that fear which was there before. We've gone through that trial and tribulation together as a country about the worries of vaccines. If you are anti-vax, you're probably not going to change, right? I think by now there's enough evidence to prove that it works and it supports. But if you're a position personally, I will respect that. Those who have decided to take it, you've gone through that process. There's no reason why you shouldn't be wanting to do the booster. And I can promise you this is going to give us the extra protection necessary. And I say that from the travel perspective now, which is governments across the world are now starting to consider to say the actual full vaccination status may change by its definition by saying how up to date are you with your jabs and your protections. So if a person got fully vaccinated by way of 2 in the current definition some year ago, they may not have full protection now. Yeah. So governments are considering whether they're going to mandate to say it has to be 3 jabs or the equivalent to a fully updated protection, but depending on what kind of vaccine you have received. So we know that some vaccines out there that is 1 shot. So what is the equivalent to a fully protection or up-to-date protection within that 1 shot? And governments are going to make that decision. So I would encourage you that it will be also beneficial for you to get your booster for travel, because we all know about emergency circumstances. If God forbid something has to happen, you have to leave. If you're not up to date with your boosters, it's almost basically like before when we didn't have your vaccine shot at all. So it's a similar thing, and I want us to, we've gone a long way with this challenge of vaccines, and I think we should be comfortable enough from the evidence, from those who are involved and those who have received it, like myself and the minister. We've both received all 3 shots, and we have to trust ourselves with this. This is the way forward for us to get back to normal, and I encourage you, please, if you are eligible, go get your booster. If you've gotten the virus recently, as Dr. Williams had advised, just wait 3 months, and then you go get your booster.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Minister Kenneth Bryan, Minister Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Medical Officer for Health Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez will continue, so please stay tuned.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Radio Cayman News.
Paper examines the current landscape of tribunals in the Cayman Islands.
2 women are stalked, one of them attacked while walking in Georgetown Monday morning.
It is our government's intention to provide an increased emphasis on climate resiliency.
A COVID outbreak is reported at government's residential home that cares for adults with special needs.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
We give you honor and praise, adoration and glory.
Radio Cayman.
Praise time.
Praise him, praise him. Come and let's praise the Lord. Come and let's praise the Lord. Praise him in the morning and in the evening. Oh, let's praise the Lord.
Praise time in the morning.
Praise him, praise him.
Weekdays 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Radio Cayman, waking you up.
Rock my soul in the blues of my favorite. Rock my soul in the blues of my favorite.
Praise time.
I know he cares. He'll always be there. Oh, yeah. Praise him, praise him, praise him.
Praise time.
Set your clock for 6 a.m. or you will miss it.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Minister Kenneth Bryan, Minister Sabrina Turner, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, and Medical Officer for Health Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez. Not sure who's going to grab the mic, Minister.
Quickly highlight something in respect to some concerns out there about our processes in the various different ways, whether it be testing, whether it be Travel Cayman. We constantly are trying to make different policy changes to tag along with the changing of the environment with COVID, and it is hard for us to try to keep up because things are moving so fast. But I must say that what we're always doing is constantly assessing the situation. Where can we improve? Now, that improvement will be delayed because it's only after we've found the problem. So though you may see some problems today, I can promise you this, within each ministry, through each minister, through each chief officer, we're constantly looking at ways to improve. And that includes even Travel Cayman, because sometimes it is difficult when we policymakers put the pressure on Travel Cayman to say, oh, by the way, we're going to allow the change of 72 hours testing before. Now it's going to be 1 day before. And they have to scramble. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to meet the demands of the public. But when we're meeting those demands, that means all the systems in the background who are doing all the work to allow us to have these freedoms are scrambling late nights and doing all of these things. Now, sometimes we kind of fail ourselves by not giving them as much resources as they need, or sometimes the resources are not even available. And like, for example, in the health care industry, where there's a limited staffing across the world. So I want you to know that we understand and we're doing our best. And that's why we think that these necessary changes recently, will give us a little bit more freedom. When I say freedom, or our ability to do more, because it's less checks and balances that need to be done based on the science that's proven that, okay, the risk is not as high. So I believe in the next couple of weeks things will be a lot better. So those who are concerned about the inefficiencies or what have you, I think it will get better in the future. Now, I just want to say, before I take up too much more time, that the travel airlines that are going to be coming back to Cayman, as you knew, we were having difficulty in the the late part of last year to get those big airlines like Delta and US Air and American coming back. But the good news is they're all coming back next month. So perfect timing for the family travel regulation that we moved to in Phase 5. So many destinations like Houston, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, Colorado. Even though we have flights out of Miami, American will start to fly out of Miami as well. The only one they were having some trouble with, and I'm not sure why Air Canada is taking this decision, but they're not flying in. Mm-hmm. But I believe that as we are moving closer and closer to less restrictions, they will see it more amenable to get back and return here. But the good news is WestJet is filling that gap. So I honestly think there's a lot to be optimistic about from a tourism perspective within the next few months. But what is more important is that we as a community do continue to keep your foot on the gas in respect to your protections and be aware of what's going on, because we're not out of the woods yet. Matter of fact, we're far from it. So I expect us all to sometimes, even though it's burdensome, you get down on your knees and say, Lord, give me a little bit more patience. We're almost around the corner. And work with the government on this. We're doing it together. We're doing this for you because this is the advice we've been given. You hear the doctors say everything that we've said so far and double down on it. So we're not like we're making this stuff up. Sometimes it looks a little bit weird because you see one jurisdiction do one thing and we're doing a different thing. But every country is not exactly the same. For example, I've heard somebody say, well, the UK gone and they just open up everything. Yes, but the UK also has a booster level of over 60%. We're not there yet. So these types of things that we want to compare with other jurisdictions, we got to be mindful of that.
Okay. Just one question, Dr. Williams Rodriguez. What do we say to those persons who make the claim that people having to queue for testing, is a spreader, COVID-19 spreader, itself? What do we say to them about how we do it here in the Cayman Islands?
Well, thanks for the question. First, we tell everyone that if you have to get tests, either because we need to confirm your lateral flow test, and I will talk a little bit more about why they need to do that, or because you need testing because of you're being in close contact with a positive, or you're positive and need testing to be released. We tried in all the locations in the public and private sector to maintain as much as possible social distance, but very important, the wearing of mask. The wearing of mask when you are in public places. That will definitely reduce the risk of passing the disease to other, or for contracting the disease as well. We have been asked, I was asked yesterday on the press conference, we have been asked why the need to do PCR to confirm LFT positive test. And of course the reason behind that, we understand that they may be inconvenient for some people to, especially if they're not feeling well after they did the LFTs and the test positive, to go now and get a confirmation PCR. And our first advice is if you are sick, you're not feeling well, even if you test positive on LFT, stay home. Stay home. Contact the flu hotline for advice, or your primary care physician. Once you get a little bit better, you can go and get that PCR testing. The reason why we encourage and ask people to get the PCR testing, the main reason is because, remember, we talked earlier in the show about the importance of the CT value and the isolation period in order to release people from isolation. So when you do that initial PCR, we have a baseline number. So when you repeat after isolation period, you repeat the PCR, then we can compare those two numbers, those CT values, and then we can make a decision if you are no longer a public health concern and can actually be released from isolation. So that's important of that initial PCR. Also, as well, we will get the genetic material to do sequencing. We know the Omicron variant is prevalent around the world in the Cayman Islands, but we also are aware that other variants can actually emerge. So it's important the Cayman Islands have the capacity to do sequencing. Very few countries around the world, especially in the Caribbean, have that capacity. So we do have the capacity to do sequencing and see and determine and detect different variants. So why not have this genetic material in order to be ahead of the game and see if there's any variant that is actually being introduced in the Cayman Island as well.
Okay. Mr. Turner, anything you want to add to what Dr. Rodriguez?
Sure. I just want to, for the sake of the listening public, again, we're getting questions and scenarios playing out in real time. And again, that just shows the power of this forum and engaging with the public. One question that we got, and for the record, and being on your show, when we talk about travel and getting permission through Travel Cayman to travel internationally, that is not our sister islands, even though some were saying, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman is the new Miami. But when we're speaking about registering with Travel Cayman, that is really for all international travel, not travel between the sister islands. And there was a unique situation that presented itself on that came in directly to me in regards to a person who's referred by HSA to come to Grand Cayman for a medical appointment. Who would bear the cost of that certified LFT coming out of, let's say, the BRAC, and the other one coming out of Grand Cayman going back to the BRAC? The cost of that being medical, and it's a referral between the two, that will be borne by the government for the patient. So the patient would not have to pay for that certified LFT once they're referred to come to Grand Cayman for medical reasons. So it's a matter of getting it out there in the public, because we're going to get these scenarios, definitely. And we're not at all so rigid that we don't understand that they're going to be situations that we probably never ever played out, but there will be a reasonable answer as long as safety is always at the forefront.
Okay. And just one quick one for Dr. Williams. What happens if a person in a household tests positive on day 7? if one person, but there is more than one person in the household, and on day 7 that person tests positive, what's the...
Okay, so that person now become a case. And then, of course, they will have to take the isolation period depending if they're vaccinated or not.
Okay.
If they are vaccinated, the isolation period for 7 days. If they're unvaccinated, the isolation period for 10 days. For the household member, again, depend on their vaccination status. If they are vaccinated, they can go out with a daily lateral flow test for 10 days, we had with the national lateral flow policy. If they are unvaccinated, they will have to quarantine for a period of 10 days as well, and test PCR testing at the end of the quarantine period.
Got you. Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. So, folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Due to the high number of COVID cases in the community, Water Authority Cayman is encouraging customers to conduct as much business as possible online or over the phone and avoid coming into the office. Need to pay a bill? You can do it online. Just visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and click on the Pay My Bill button. Are you experiencing service issues? Contact our customer service team via the phone on 949-2837 or email info@waterauthority.ky. Don't forget to practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently with soap and water. For updates from the Water Authority, visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and our social media pages.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this morning. This is the time where we give everyone an opportunity for closing comments or to cover any area that they may not have covered before. And since we have 4 persons in the studio, that will take some time. So that's why we're starting now. And we're going to start with Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell.
Thanks, Mr. Connor. Again, just to remind individuals that the new reduced periods for quarantine for travelers and the new regulation with respect to children is in effect. Those persons who would have immediate benefit from that would have received by now an email from Travel Cayman outlining those criteria for release and to ensure that they have to get the test results negative and a release from Travel Cayman in order to leave isolation and to remove the tracking wristband. While I have the mic, I just want to say a massive thank you for my colleagues at Travel Cayman and CBC who are on the front lines of our responses and keeping up with our growing demands. Just by way of quick numbers, through Wednesday, we had, so this is phase 4 from November 20th through Wednesday, we had received 27,543 travelers, of which 12,998 were visitors. As of Wednesday as well, Travel Cayman had authorized and approved and reviewed 36,679 travel declarations. So those are from vaccinated persons. And at the time of the report, there were 2 pending. So they're doing a fantastic job of keeping up with those demands. For those unvaccinated persons whose their quarantine location has to be vetted and all that. Please give enough time for that to be done prior to your travel, because that remains a very manual process for us to go through. But kudos to the team that are working really hard and keeping up with our travel increases.
Okay, Dr. Williams.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us on the program. Thank you to the public for the questions and to allow us to clarify some of the concerns that are out there. And I want to thank the government. I want to thank the Premier, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Tourism for their involvement, their support through this, and the passion when it comes to the health of this island. I also want to thank our partners in the private sector, our health partners in the private sector who have been pivotal in our fight against the coronavirus. And lastly, but certainly not the public health department. Our public health department, the core public health department, the nurses, and all the additional staff that we have been getting through the months. They're doing a fantastic job. People are not aware how late they work, and it's 7 days a week, and it's every day. And they work very, very, very hard. I didn't want to mention any names, but I think it would be or me not to mention.
The risk of missing
but I know we'll miss a lot of them, but I want to mention 3 names.
Yes, sure.
I want to mention first Dr. Erica Simmons. she's the head of the department for general practice at the HSA, but she has been working alongside me from the beginning of the pandemic, and my job, I don't think it would be possible without her assistance.
Great.
Also, Dr. Hazel Brown, who is the Chief Nursing Officer at the HSA. She has been working with public health as well during the first wave, and then when we start having cases again, and she has been very, very important also for us in public health. And the Chief Executive Officer at the HSA, Ms. Lisa Yearwood. I mean, I'm not sure how she does it, but she's, everywhere. She's a public health officer, she with the lab, with everything they have to do. So I want to thank them, because without their support, I don't think we would have been able to get this far. So thank you very much, and thank you all.
Excellent. Mr. Bryan?
Yes, thank you again, OC. I don't want to take too much time and allow the minister to have good closing remarks. I just want to quickly say I want the listening audience to please take the opportunity at some point today to take just 30 seconds of your time to send a quick prayer up to God on behalf of our colleague, Miss Julie. Not saying that there's any reason for concern, but she is dealing with the case of COVID, and we want her continued success and recovery from the virus. So your prayers would be greatly appreciated. As we move forward in phase 5, obviously this opens up the tourism product a lot more, and that means greater opportunities for jobs. So those employers who were happy about that news yesterday, I also expect you to be just as happy about trying to find a Caymanian to fill those posts. It's something that this government takes very, very seriously. As Minister of Tourism, on behalf of the government, we've worked really hard to get to the stage with you in mind about getting Caymanians back to work. So again, as I said many times before, what's the point of opening up if our people are not going to be the beneficiaries? So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as you're getting excited about new reservations and more people coming. Start to look for Caymanians in that respect. Two more things. In respect to your daily regime, not only we're asking you to get your boosters or get your vaccines and be cleanly and safe, and social distancing and masks, I also encourage persons to live a healthier life. Try to eat better. Also, ensure that you're taking a good balanced vitamin regime for yourselves, because it's the only thing that fights this virus is your own body's immune system. And the way your immune system works is based on what you put in it, and that's what you're going to get out. With that being said, the last thing I want to encourage one more time, please, 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 if you are eligible, go and get your booster. Re-strengthen yourself. The virus will be around us for some time. I think my predictions, without any science behind it, eventually will be like the common cold. And I believe that the vaccines and the booster at this particular point will give you that opportunity that if you get it, it would be no more than a common cold. And that's with no science behind it. So just give yourself as much opportunity to fight against it, because the probabilities of it passing by you at some stage is very, very high. So go get boosted. do the right thing. I've done it, and I think you should do it too. OC, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the show as usual.
Thank you very much. Minister Turner.
Mr. Connor, thank you so much, and thank the general public for their time and their attention, and obviously their engagement, be it personally or through you. And to my colleagues, I want to take this opportunity to let the public know that it is indeed an honor to be in this position, despite many people would say you got the worst ministry at a worse time. But you know what? They got the right person at the right time. And I am honored to be here surrounded by my colleagues to share in this journey. And I too would like to thank you for this opportunity to give us this access to reach such a large audience, to all of the Travel Cayman team, to definitely my ministerial team, my chief officer, who I swear people think that we don't have a life, and to the security guards over there at government admin who is there with us as we leave sometimes after 9-10 o'clock at night, to DCO Ms. Bobeth Ogaro, to my policy team, to everyone from the national level, from the ministry. And it is a pleasure to be joined by our interim CMO, Dr. Newton. And, it wouldn't be possible without them and the working of CAPSEC's office in order for getting these papers, these caucus papers ready, cabinet, so that we can just engage and definitely make policies and legislation that will benefit our people in the islands. I want to take this opportunity as well to thank the HSA Board of Directors, all of the public health staff, HSA staff, from those persons working in housekeeping to the gardeners, to all those people in public health, and definitely to all the volunteers and for the job opportunities that has been made available because of this unfortunate circumstance with COVID. To the GIS team, definitely. Press releases are going out. Sometimes I cannot get on your show as often as I would, and press releases are out there quicker than we can actually do what we're doing. But publicly, I am telling you, I will be availing myself to Radio Cayman as our national radio station and to other media outlets in order to keep engaged, because we understand the importance of public health and medical being very topical at this time. This weekend is a long weekend. We are understanding the protocols. For some, may be a bit frustrating, but because of the level of information that was shared here today, the explanation and rationale behind why we came up with this, that we hope that people would adhere and appreciate what we're doing in order to make sure that our people are safe. This is a weekend that we're recognizing our heroes and putting the focus on the uniformed services. I want to personally congratulate to all of those recipients who will be receiving recognition, or who are being recognized at this year's Heroes Day ceremony. And despite it being a scaled-back event, I want you to know that I congratulate you, being a uniformed person myself, and I can respect it, having collaborated with you as my chief immigration officer back in the day, and working collectively with Customs and RCIPS. I feel that we owe them a gratitude. But I share in this moment with my colleague in encouraging persons to get vaccinated. Definitely look at the importance of getting boosted, taking care of your health overall, exercising, getting sunlight, engaging. Put down the devices and just live a normal life. You were in quarantine for so long. I hope you go and walk on the beach and appreciate our beach. Yes. You minister tourism. But if you see what I'm saying, it's all about a balance, and investing in your health is key. But I just want to thank everyone for their understanding and thank them for their cooperation as we all navigate this new way forward, understanding that there is no playbook. But what we do have is common sense, and we have the ability to adhere to the laws and rules and regulations and just follow simple instructions. To Radio Cayman, thank you. And I look forward to further engaging with you more. And I want to personally, as a female, and thank you, Minister, congratulate all of my Barbadians the congratulations, Miss Motley, and again a very successful landslide win, and it just goes to show the power and the strength and how democracy works. And there you have it. I'm proud as a woman to be here in this noble position and to see it globally, where we women are given a chance on the political scene. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Also, thank everyone. And again, with it being a long holiday weekend, and any reminders in Dr. Williams in terms of what people should be doing and those facilities that will still be available to them over the weekend in terms of testing or whatever, if you want to repeat that again for our audience.
All right, thank you. As the minister said, the restrictions are still there, but that doesn't really prevent you from enjoying with your family and friends. Just be careful. Wear your mask. Make sure you keep social distance as much as you can. Wash or sanitize your hand often. This is something they seem to be minor things, but this actually help a lot in preventing the spreading of the disease. The testing site will continue to be open, and at the HSA, like I said, for sure, I'm pretty sure that some of the private providers will be open as well throughout the weekend, including Monday, which is a public holiday. Yes. At the same time that we have advised before.
Okay. Again, I want to thank all of you for making yourselves available and being here. There's no question whatsoever that the public has benefited from this conversation this morning. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Again, special prayers. We want you to keep Minister Juliana O'Connor Connolly in your prayers, and all of those persons who are either infirmed, either at home or at a medical facility as well. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. For the Record is brought to you